Welcome to the INTJ Equation, a channel on typology from the lens of an unhealthy INTJ. Today, I have Francesca and Ben. They're an INFJ and ENFP couple. Francesca's the INFJ. She's from Australia, and Ben is the ENFP. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Francesca. Some of you that hang out on Discord might already know me.
I'm her husband.
You might already know Ben as well. I'm a web developer designer for trade. I have my own business and I like to write fantasy novels in my free time.
I work construction. I'm not
And why did you choose that job?
Why?
ENFP?
Because
It's not a typical ENFP job.
I need to grow as a human being. I have all of these ideas, right? I have all of these possibilities, but that is not real. What is real is concrete and nails and bolts and things like that, things of that nature. So I needed to just do a complete diagonal shift through all the functions and try to get that SI number 1 and then the NE about number 4. That's what I tried to do.
You're doing really good.
I'm doing really great, but boy, are my arms tired. That's a Jim Cornette joke.
I don't know much Jim Cornette.
That's fun.
You watch wrestling, I take it?
Oh, yeah. Great. How did they get away with that for so long?
I haven't watched wrestling in years, but for some reason I've been watching these interviews and stuff on wrestling, just being really nostalgic, but I don't know why. It's kind of funny.
He loves wrestling so much, and I
love it as a concept.
Yeah.
By the way, Black Jack Delanza just died, so RIP. But here's what happened. Carnies make money, and then they get legitimate fighters to draw crowds and make money. These legitimate fighters then decide of their own free will and of their own volition to cooperate so that they can have a fight in every town. And then it turned into what it is now and what it became in most people like the late 90s today, but really the territory days is the NWA stuff is where it's very interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Cornette, ESTJ, great podcast, by the way. He's got 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Cornette's an ESTJ?
I think he is. He could be an ENFP. I think he has positive NE and positive TE, but I think he's an ESTJ.
What do you think?
I was guessing a ENP of some sort, but
interesting.
I don't know.
Well, we've gone backwards and forwards on that.
I'm open to it because ESTJs, they can be such nerds.
We thought ENFP first, but then after multiple listings, I was like, I'm getting ESTJ.
I think he is FE Demon, but SE Demon and FE Demon can be difficult to distinguish. Yeah. And Cornette's definitely one of those too. But the way he wants things to be done and that just heavy, SI parent, just all the time, you're doing it fucking wrong, you're doing it fucking wrong, you're doing it wrong. Tony Khan, you're doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. It's just STJ-ish to me. He's very integrated NFP subcon. Very, very. And I think that's because ESTJs can be real nerds. They're nerds is what they are because they have an INFP subcon.
I like that about them.
And they can just retreat into that little world of knowing Jedi lightsaber fighting styles. Who knows that? Nobody knows that. Except ESTJs.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim Cornette about wrestling. Anything wrestling.
Yeah, I haven't really looked. I just remember watching him mostly as a kid and stuff. I haven't really looked at
him. He definitely gives that vibe off at first. I listened to a few and I was like, I think you're right, he's an ENFP. But then I was like, oh no, this is very SI parent. This is very FE Demon.
Because I got that vibe at too.
Just
this is just
very intertradition.
NETE, but no, it's the other way around. It's TENE. I think he's just Macho Man Randy Savage, also an ESTJ, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Watching interviews with him, it kind of makes sense that all that, man, freaked out, Macho Man. That's all just any child just being weird.
Sorry if we got off topic there, though.
No, what do you mean off topic?
Well, I'm not sure how structured.
He asked me. It was a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we.
Okay. If you ever want to just take a shepherd's hook and just go ahead.
Well, what do you get with any hero? Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, you knew this was coming.
Mhm.
You knew this was coming. You married this.
Okay, how about we how about guys tell us how you guys met?
It was a dark and stormy night. We met through a mutual friend on Discord, of all places. We met through
And ENTJ.
it's a longer story. It's a longer story than that. But to spare the details, we met through a mutual friend who I met on a community, just social server. But he took me to his server and he was interested in typology. And I met her on his server, right?
Mhm.
And we loved each other
Mhm.
from the very start.
Yeah.
It really is storybook.
Yeah. Well, I
'Cause
mean, you were a little bit. He was very uncomfortable in the beginning.
as I often am.
He you know, he was very anxious, and I think we both actually have like a little bit of autism, so I think that connected me to his NE even more, because it was so kind of out there that my NI could really hone in on it, and it kept me really interested. So we just talked as friends for ages through that Discord, and then eventually
about 2.5 years later, 2.5, going on 3 now. We're married.
Mhm. You got a tattoo.
It's a tattoo. It's not coming off
Oh,
under any circumstance.
I didn't ask him to get it. He just.
And my idea.
did you get one, or is that's a regular ring, right?
No,
No,
yeah,
wait, she looks way better with diamonds.
just a normal ring. Yeah.
All right, so this is new for me. I haven't really done a couple yet. So you guys have been together about 3 years, or married for 3 years? How long do you guys talk on the internet before you guys met and got together?
Married for about 6 months. We're married in
Married in
June.
June this year.
But we've been talking for like almost 3 years now.
Yeah.
Right?
I think we met in December 2018. 2018 or?
Sure.
I think 2018. And then I came to America 2019.
November
November
2019.
2019.
I was set to go to Australia early 2020.
June 2020.
COVID-19 on the back burner for a while, and now, you know, we made it work. She got here. We're married. We're not going to do that again.
Have you been to Australia, or COVID's probably?
Unfortunately, no. I was really looking forward to that, but
yeah, it's just
they wouldn't take me.
It'll still be difficult now, even getting back into Australia a little bit with all the COVID stuff. They've lifted the restrictions, but yeah, it's you got to be vaccinated. You're probably going to have the booster shot, which I don't know how you feel about the vaccinations, but I don't feel very good about them. And I did end up getting them, mostly through guilt. Feeling very guilty about not getting it, but then I had a lot of terrible symptoms after, and I instantly regretted it because my intuition was telling me not to get it. And then so we will have to be quite vaxxed up to get back in Australia. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got the Pfizer vaccine and the booster shot recently, like a month ago, and I had 0 problems. So
that's good. Yeah.
All right. So you guys haven't been together like incredibly long time. What's the easiest thing bit for your relationship so far?
What's the what? Sorry?
The easiest.
Oh, the easiest.
What's a way we can say everything?
Well, I think that it's so easy, first of all, because we have typology. So let's just, if I wasn't aware that I had TE Trickster or SI Demon, before I learnt those things about myself, I was a little bit more, what would I say? I was a little bit more standoffish, maybe. Like maybe I always thought I was right, or I really rejected TE as well. My whole life, whenever anyone has tried to apply that function to me, I'm like, I don't know. you know, but then I also used to think I was good at it. I used to argue against rational people with absolutely no rationality. Just my own thoughts were coming out and I still thought I was right. So when I learned about typology,
it's a beautiful thing.
and actually my whole life, I have been only really good. Like when I look back at all my friends, I asked them to take the test and I really thought about them typology. They've all been ENFPs. There are a few INFPs in there, but it was never as an explosive relationship as it was with an ENFP that I felt so connected to. So I think now us both knowing about typology, and I think we're both quite integrated as well, because we know about that. We always work on our functions. I always work on my SE inferior. I'm a very insecure person, but Ben tries really, really hard to give me consistency and loyalty. And he knows about my functions. So I try to be nice about my SE inferior, you know, like there are days I'm just like, are you sure you love me? Like I have to triple check. Even though he's done nothing wrong, I get very paranoid all of a sudden. I get thrown into my shadow. Maybe, you know, with any shadow, if I'm thrown into there for just like a day, I'm thrown off because first of all, I feel worthless. And then I get paranoid and then I just can't imagine that he still loves me. Like it's like every day I have to find out if he loves me again because I forget that he loves me. But I'm really nice about it and he's really nice about it. So it's just like a gentle conversation.
It's just happening.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, for me, SI inferior, dude, don't worry your triple heart because you'll never have to worry about that again because you have SE inferior.
Yeah. I think I make him really comfortable.
Yeah. That's what that meant for anyone who didn't know.
That's the thing. It's something I've noticed about him is like even right now, his SE demon can come across to people in a certain way, and especially with his NE, and people, I've noticed that people perceive him a different way than how I perceive him or how he really is. And I instantly saw him, I think, and I was always able to talk to him and get him to show me the real him, you know, because that takes to him it takes a lot of being comfortable. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that is just to each child, which I'm at a point in my life where I have not figured out exactly why I do that. It might be negative FI, it might be just overwhelming, just like guilt from past experiences where I always thought I was wrong because people just did not understand ENFP.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know why I do that. It's almost as if when I came to this, I got these words. It's not that I had came to this conclusion, it's that I put that conclusion in these words the other day, and I really like these words. It's that it's almost as if instead of authenticity, it is a conscious aesthetic or utilitarian choice that I'm making in that moment. To, yes, I'm going to present this way. Yes, I'm going to present this way. Yes, I'm going to go along with that because fighting against it is too difficult. I don't know enough to fight against it. It just to take me with the waves. Mm-hmm. Just whatever's happening in that moment. But as far as traits or opinions is a better word than traits. As far as that thing goes, it's completely. Mm-hmm. If you ask me a question, I'll decide in that moment what my answer is, rather than something coming up from inside me. And mm-hmm. I don't know why I do that, but I do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's probably the enemy just going off everywhere.
Yeah. and also you're just not comfortable. Like with me, he's very grounded. He's, you know, he can be very grounded because I kind of ground him, I guess. So I'm and that's what are you saying? Let's just
and that's where I was going to go with that. That's what TI Child does, because TI Child is like the most, I need to know. They need to know. She needs to know what I mean by that. So eventually her questioning and her persistence gets me to a point where I go, oh no, that's not right. It's actually this. Yeah.
I think that, that's another thing too that's been very rewarding about our relationship is that maybe with other ENFPs, my TI child has worn them out a little bit, maybe because we didn't really know about typology then, right? I didn't realize that what the functions were. Their TE would wear me out, especially if they were not well read. because then they're just spitting out random facts with any. I'm like, okay, but how is this applicable to me right now and what we're talking about? So I think I got very tired by that. But I think what's been so good with us is he doesn't even always understand what he's saying or who he is. But I ask question after question after, and I just analyze him to the point where he's like, oh God, now I know like who I am. Okay.
Listen, Mark Twain once said, an honest man doesn't need to remember what he said. I don't need to understand who I am because I am who I am.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same, right? Let's pretend that's the same.
I don't think I've ever heard that one.
I honestly, I don't know half the sayings that you ever say because I just have no tea.
Going around your elbow to get to your wrist. It's all right.
All right. So what is the hardest thing about your relationship so far?
It really is like just the physical circumstance, wasn't it? It was just the distance and the fact that you're Australian and I'm American.
I mean, but I guess
that's been the hardest part for us.
But I mean, I guess that's not really the answer to the question. I think it because that's something we couldn't control, right? So now that we're together, I would think that probably okay. So maybe his anger, like SE demon outrages, and then me when I'm low energy, my FE. I absorb it and I can't help, and then I go into FI mode and I think that I've done something wrong. Even though he's just angry at the traffic, I'm like, oh my God, I am not good enough because he's angry. So there's that, but we balance that quite well because I know it's mostly my issue. And my SE inferior got in the way a lot. When it was long distance, because I guess it's very hard to keep up that consistency. I think that's been the hardest part.
I mean, maybe the hardest part for me has been integrating your other functions or your weaker functions is just difficult. It's just a difficult thing to do day after day after day after day. But that's what I want to do. So, and I have very good reason to do it for my relationship with her. So it continues that way, but sometimes when you're just
when you're drained at the end of the day when you're drained at the end of the day as an INFJ and all your husband is doing is like, do you know this person's name and this person's date and then this person did this thing on that, and then I'm just there like I don't know anything you're saying right now, like please, I cannot. And then for him too, when he's tired and I'm just like TIing the shit out of him and he's like, I don't know my own thoughts, please just let me.
Or like when we get into that stream of consciousness mode, both of us, hers makes more sense than mine does because she has the TI for it, but we can both just batter each other over the heads with our functions. Which is, I mean, that TE child is most sensitive to TI child. NI hero is most sensitive to any hero. It makes sense that it can be abrasive, but it's good that we have that abrasiveness because it's also the softest.
It helps us grow.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Okay. I see that maybe he's rubbing off on you. You do kind of come off any hero-ish, Francesca. But I do see that you kind of like stop him and you ground him sometimes. So maybe...
I have a theory about this. This is entirely SE inferior. Would you agree?
I think it's SE, yeah, especially when I'm around, and maybe FE, like when I'm talking to someone new who I don't know, I find it very, like I feel like I have to present more things.
Yeah,
I do tend to go into my shadow to present more things. But yeah, I think we both rub off on each other a little bit. I've been around ENFPs my whole life, so I definitely use NE a lot better now. Yeah.
Okay. And you want to tell us a little bit about like you were mistyped as an ENTP at one point? How did that happen?
That was just through taking the 16 personalities test. So I think it's mostly because because I'm 30 now, so he's a little bit younger than me. And so as I, got older, I feel like I'm a shadow focused INFJ. So I really, especially because when I was younger, I really did a lot of drugs to self-medicate.
Mhm.
Being a very introverted, sensitive person, to be able to deal with the world, I had to, that was kind of how I did it. I used a lot of alcohol, basically. And yeah, so I think that the test, I would never type as a sensor on that 16 P's test, right? So I think I was just getting ESTP, but because I would never type as an S because my intuitive answers were so high, it just spit out ENTP. Yeah.
And when did you find out INFJ? Did you find out through like research, or did you take another test?
It was actually a few typists. So I was in an ENTP like online group, and they were like,
That's gotta be fun. That's gotta be real fun.
I always felt I was a bit odd because they were all TI parenting each other and kind of like throwing out jokes. And I was always there like mediating, like, oh, don't say this, oh, don't do that. So someone kind of threw me into the direction of like, he'd been going through my profile and he's like, oh my gosh, I think you're like at the time he was calling it shadow focus. He was saying you're like in ESTP mode, but you're an INFJ in ESTP mode. And I was like, okay, so that was the first thing. And then, not that Chase is the be all end all, but Chase did type me as well. So then I had a few typing sessions in his server. Maybe. Do you know CS Joseph typology?
I do, yeah.
Okay, that's who we mean when we say Chase.
Yeah.
And I won't say anything more.
Yeah. And then through extra study and like my own study on it, and then, you know, my feedback from the people that I hang around in my role in regards to other people and what I've always been doing my whole life. And then also the main best friends that I've had was all clues.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Ben, when did you find out we were an ENFP? Did you think of another type previously, or were you always pretty certain of the ENFP?
It makes complete sense that I'm an ENFP, but I also think because
I agree.
yeah. Sometimes looking back on it in like childhood, I almost do wonder, was I like a little more ISTJ-ish until I just switched? But no, I think ENFP is pretty on the money there.
Yeah.
Francesca, I know you said you're medicated as a kid. I know like the starter types, get things going types are often accused of having ADHD. Were you on any type of like Adderall or anything like that?
Well,
Ben?
it was never really a problem with my focus. That was something I got medicated for later because I wanted to, just because I wanted to use it more to get more stuff done. And I knew the system, like I was studying psychology at the time. So I knew what I had to say to get that medication, which is awful. But yeah, no, they had me on basically like it was severe depression that I got typed with. And yeah, they had me on all types of antidepressants. And yeah, then later, and Valium even at one point. But it was never really an issue with focus at school. It was just more, I was that type of kid that unless I was invested in it emotionally and I was really interested, I didn't want to do it and I just wouldn't do it. You know, I was really into writing. I was really into computers. I was really into art. But anything else you try to get me to do, I would just flat out pretty much say no. But then later on, a doctor did say that was a symptom of ADHD. And I was like, it's not. I just don't do what I don't want to do.
Yeah, it's an I. Like if you don't want to do it, you just don't want to do it.
No, and I was very strong with that when I was younger, before my SE developed and my FE, because I believe I was an NITI jumper. So I've really come a long way. I feel like I'm a very integrated INFJ now. I went on a huge journey for that. But yeah, back then I was only interested in what I wanted to do. Yeah.
How about you, Ben? That was a question was actually for you, but it's okay. Were you ever on any kinds of ADHD meds or anything like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was my mom did what's called res care, which is residential care, which means she would take she worked with like disabled minors mostly. So we'd have children with Down syndrome, children with severe cerebral palsy, nonverbal autism. And I grew up around those children because 3 or 4 nights out of the week, they were at our house. And I I had a pretty common like autistic experience young, just kind of never really getting it, struggled in school, speech impediments, that kind of thing. And my mom refused to believe that I was autistic because she associated autism with nonverbal and low functioning, which is just what she was exposed to. So I got a couple different diagnoses before it finally landed on Asperger's syndrome. But at the time, they coupled it with ADHD. So now they don't even do that. They won't even let you won't even be diagnosed with both. So Vyvanse was my biggest one. I think I was on Adderall for a little while.
But you intuitively that was no good, hey?
Yeah, I just I was one of those kids that would just throw my pills in the toilet and flush it and just say, "Yeah, mom, I took them." Unless she gave them to me, which she eventually figured out I was doing that, and then would just give them to me just like that. And I'm better for it, I guess.
How did you compare on the medication compared to off the medication?
I genuinely do not remember. I think it's not necessarily like a sensation or an experience on it. It's just more, I hated being attached to that. I hated the routine of having to take them every morning. I hated the routine of it being necessary because like she said, I intuitively knew, no, I'm just like this. I'm just like this. And there's no medication, there's nothing that's going to fix that. And now that I'm an adult, I think I've managed pretty well. I think I'm kind of an overachiever for the cards I was dealt. So I'm not someone who, I think a lot of people get this wrong because they're just completely anti prescriptions or anti-medication because as a kid, maybe someone misunderstood what they had and gave them Ritalin or something. And so now they're just a crusader for you should never put a child on medication. I don't think that's necessarily true, but I don't think it made me better or worse. I think it just was kind of something that happened.
Yeah, like I used to work with kids with behavioral health issues, and like I would just see a lot of kids that are like an ENTP, ENFP, or something like that, just being themselves, and they're force fed these medications. And I'm not trying to dismiss ADHD. I say this almost every podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, it's legitimate, but I think it's just highly overdiagnosed, and a lot of times it's misdiagnosed as either like PTSD, which shows similar symptoms.
Well, exactly. Well, all the NE users, right, that if they tend to get typed with ADHD, well, they also have SI inferior. If they're NE hero, they have SI inferior. And what I've noticed from all of my ENFP friends is I'm always healing their past trauma. They're always bringing things up that happened in the past, and I'm going, okay, no, but that's not happening now. Let's work through this. Let's get rid of this, because, and then they start to present with all of these issues just because they have SI in that slot as well. So I completely agree with you. I think there's a place for medication, definitely. But in general, there needs to be a lot more awareness of personality types, but then also what is contributing to personality types going overboard or becoming imbalanced, right? Because in this day and age, we live in a world where it's so easy for any hero to become imbalanced. You've got phones everywhere, drugs, a fast society, you've got so many issues. They're just going to fly away, and it's just going to make them, in a sense, maybe develop some sort of mental illness, when if they were just a little bit more balanced in their approach to their functions or knowing who they were, it would be okay.
And just like the SJ school system just kind of needs to realize, like not everybody's meant to sit in front of a book for 6 hours a day. And some people just need like hands-on learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I was one of those kids that just by the end of high school, I was just not going to school. I guess my mother's wishes. So
well, my mom
don't anyone think she wasn't trying, because she was, but I would just go in the woods instead of getting on the bus. So there's not really much you can do. because that's what I thought. I thought I'm not going to care or try when I'm there because I just don't. So why would I even go?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I want to jump a little bit into the functions more in depth. So, Ben, I guess we talked quite a bit about the functions. How about your NE hero? What's it like being like just having all these possibilities swirling around you all the time?
It's absolutely wonderful. I've never been bored in my entire life. It is and it isn't, because it's sort of Pandora's box. It's sort of Pandora's box. I'm like narcissist. I can't even I just turn it off.
It looks good.
Mental movies. It's always something's always happening. There's somebody I see, some memory I have, some possibility, some bit I'm doing, like comedic bit I'm doing purely for myself. And she'll even see me just
Like,
just
I would
to
just look
myself.
over at him. He's just in the shower, and I'm looking at him, and he's like, and I'm like, are you doing a comedy bit in your head right now?
Yes. And if you ask me what was the bit, I can't remember. I don't know, because I've not only have I moved on, I've moved on from the thing I moved on from,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just bam,
Yeah.
pop, 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 and it's just it keeps going and it keeps going. And I don't get me wrong, I love it, but sometimes I just want to turn it off for a second, just so I can solve an actual problem, like what did I have for breakfast this morning, or you know, where's my passport? Just one of those things that's just low sensing function, right? That's just SI fourth and NE first.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Did I answer his question? Did I
Yeah.
answer your question?
Yeah, I think I
Okay.
resonate a similar way with wanting to turn my NI off sometimes. Like, can I just make a decision without having to think about it for 3 hours straight first, you know?
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes years.
I'm-
Sometimes you're thinking about it for years, especially with TI
I
child.
don't think I've ever made a decision.
You're just looping between the NI and the TI, going.
I don't think I've ever made a decision that I deliberated on for more than 45 seconds. And I mean that sincerely. I don't think I have. I cannot recall.
I just think in general, yeah, you do make decisions, but with me by your side, we tend to seem to be making the right decisions together once we put both of our heads together.
Well, that's just
Yeah.
well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Francesca, how about you for NI?
So in objective personality, I got typed the NITI jumper, and with feminine NI. So that is when, so the masculine NI is when it's very a straight path, right? And the feminine NI is when, yeah, it's a straight path ahead, but your straight path might mean you have to visit here and then over here and then over here to kind of gather all the data that you need over the years. So I think, I don't know, for me, having NI seems to have been a lot more positive than his NE. I tend to just follow my intuition. I tend to do what I want. And I think while that made me lose a few friends in my life, or when I was younger and didn't have social awareness as much, maybe even made me a bit entitled and make some wrong decisions, you know, that I do regret now that my FE is developed. But in general, I seem to have always been on this track that's guiding me in the right direction. So I've had a fairly positive experience with my NI, apart from it alienating me from everyone. And apart from people not understanding why I made the decision that I did, because then on top of it, I don't have TE, right? I can't use it very well. So people are asking me, how did you come to this conclusion? And then I'm not able to clearly communicate to them why I did it, just that I know that it's right for me. It makes sense for me. So that's been a bit alienating, but in general, it's really helped me get on the path that I've wanted in life. So I'm glad for it.
Very cool. I'm
Yeah.
glad it's working out for you. It's like definitely like a double-edged sword for me.
Yeah.
So how does your NI and your NE interact? Is there any conflict? Is it complementary? Do you guys ever clash from it?
I think we would have clashed a lot more when I was younger, but I am a lot more integrated now. And after hanging out with a lot of ENFPs, I really integrated my NE. I think just potentially when we tend to get into our shadows, sometimes I do get into my shadow really bad, and our shadows are so opposite. So the things he gets really upset about is not what I get upset about. I get upset when I cannot see like a clear path forward, and every kind of option I'm thinking about isn't working for me. For example, everything that's been going on with COVID at the moment, right? And countries losing their democracy, what it seems, their freedom, just the total loss of social cohesion is, I'm really picking up on that on the moment with my FE, and it's really making me anxious, which I think is putting me more in my shadow because I'm seeing all these external possibilities of society and I'm not happy with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think while I can use my NE good, that is also where I get paralyzed. All of the options that I do not want to see, whereas he gets paralyzed when he's not doing stuff.
Oh yeah, the complete opposite. When all I can think about is like one thing, like nemesis for me is when all I can think about is just one thing, which is usually bad.
Mm-hmm.
But at least when it sticks, it's usually bad. That's paralyzing to me when I'm stuck and I can't cycle and the wheel of fortune cannot keep spinning, and then you're stuck.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ben, how about your FI? How does that worked out for you through your life?
I think she could tell you more about my FI than I could.
Yeah, that makes sense because you don't like to open up about it.
Yeah, I
May I?
Because
Because I had to learn that as FE users, especially because one of my best friends is an INTJ. So that FI child, I had to learn not to poke and prod and get in there and try to analyze it and just let it come out naturally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she even messaged me the other day just being like, this thing happened, but I don't want any sympathy or empathy for it right now. I'll let you know when I want to talk about it. I was like, okay. Well, she had to let me know.
I mean, it's not that strange.
Because
That's
otherwise
strange.
I would dig deeper to
Not
check,
not-
check she was
I should
okay.
amend that. Not something I would do, but more power to anyone who does
Yeah.
that.
Well, for me, his FI has given me boundaries for the first time in my life.
Yeah,
which is really
that's been the biggest contributor of FI parent to not only our relationship but the world, is just that sort of, it's not even, at least for me, it's not even something I could really tell you. It's more of just disgust sensitivity. It's just, why would you, don't do that?
Mhm.
You know, just that person's bad. But that's probably been the main example throughout our relationship, because like she said, the lack of boundaries she has, I step in and I just say, no, that's bad. Don't do that. That person's no good for you. Don't give them, you're giving them everything, they're giving you nothing. They're bad. Stay away.
Well, it's also like a puzzle for me. Like I would think that I'm just here analyzing them and like trying to understand them and help them, not while realizing the whole time they're just draining me and not really wanting to make a change in their life. Whereas I think Ben can really clearly see that.
I can see that because I think I'm fortunate enough to have been through things that have made me want to change and want to grow and develop. And because of that, I have a decent gauge for people who do want that and people who don't. And a lot of people just don't want that where they are when they come to us. I think everyone does want that. Most people, 99%. There's always a little asterisk, but I think most people do want that. It's just, are they ready for it when they meet my wife? And if the answer is no, I say get rid of them.
Yeah, he's been very protective. What else? I think he's very moral. I think compared to a lot of other ENFPs that I've been with who kind of just use their FI selfishly, I think Ben uses it really quite selflessly, but like just for maybe me or his family. But whereas, my FE is kind of like very open to everyone. But yeah, he's really good. He's got really good solid boundaries, good morals. What else? What about your like personal internal experience?
I think I've gone through a lot of guilt in my life for things that are just sort of beyond my control. I mean, like, for lack of a better term, yeah, there's things I could have done differently to try and help, but really things that I didn't start, that aren't my fault. And I went through a lot of guilt for those. So I think that's why I kind of have a leg up, because FI parent can be really selfish. That's why I think I have a little bit of a leg up on people for that, because I kind of go into situations thinking, all right, let them breathe, let them do whatever there is to do, because I can only react to it. I realize that I can only react to what they're going to do, because I don't go into anything with a plan. It'd be really bad if I had.
Yeah. And same question, how has your FE helped you? Her FE helped you?
How is it her FE helped me?
Or hurt you, or how does it work for you guys?
I think it's just a check and balance sort of relationship where FI parent can take care of itself. Obviously, FE parent does not need any help. But if she gets a little too comfortable with someone else that she needs to really not be so comfortable with, that's when FI parent says no. If I get a little too, self-involved or self-loathing, even her FE will go, no, it's checks and balances, wouldn't you say?
I would say it works that way. Yeah. I can't help it, but I'm constantly like, how are you feeling? How are you feeling?
Yeah. And
he probably gets that question like 10 times a day.
At least 10 times a day. And it's always,
even if it's a slight, like, I just notice people's facial expressions really, and I think I am autistic as well. So I think my FE, I shut it off for so long because it's so strong for me. Like I can register when someone's like bored, tired, anything, like straight away. And I am instantly like, okay, how can I adjust this situation or help them feel more comfortable or help them get out of it? So with him, even just one little tiny thing like, how are you feeling? But then sometimes, of course I'm off, and usually I'm right, but then sometimes because I have TE Trickster, I'm not picking up on what he's thinking, and that's the difference.
I was gonna say, like, because you asked, like, has it ever hurt you? It hasn't hurt me, but it's also a double-edged sword, like everything else, because she's an empathic person, but sometimes instead of absorbing how someone feels, she thinks they feel a certain way and then acts as if they do feel that way, whether they do or not. So it's like, have I upset you? Are you mad at me? Are you uncomfortable today? Did you have a bad day at work? And it's just, no, I'm just kind of tired.
I get that a lot. That's
Yeah.
what I was about to ask Francesca. How do you read INTJs when they don't emit a lot of emotion?
No, I can see quite a lot with them, actually, more than they would care to admit, because they have FI child. So to me, even they might look robotic to someone else, but they do not look robotic to me. But there's something else about their mind that's robotic, like the way that they're talking to me with their TE seems so detached from what I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. But that's their own. I've learned with INTJs just to kind of leave that, like, because they're fine with that. You know what I mean? Like if my INTJ friend, I feel that she's really upset, she's okay being that way because she has FI. I don't need to come in and try and make her feel neutral, because I like to neutralize emotions, because in my books, emotions can make us go way off track in life. Too happy, that's a bad thing. Too sad, that's a bad thing. Too angry. So that's like another thing maybe with him. He's just trying to get angry and vent his frustration at the road. And then I tell him,
yeah.
And then I'm always like analyzing it, being like, yeah, but that person just did that in this situation because of this. And then he'll be like, I know, I'm just angry. And then I'll be like, but you just did that the other day. You just cut someone off the other day. And like, how would you feel if they reacted like that to you? And he's like, babe, I just want to be angry now.
It's a passing moment.
Yeah.
It's fleeting.
Yeah.
Let any hero do its thing. I'm gonna go over that. It'll be done in 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Don't.
So my biggest lesson in life has been learning to like,
because for you it does not go away.
it can last a bit.
It can last a while. Yeah.
Because I think it just depends what kind of emotion it is, because I'm very close to you. If I see you upset, I think it's my duty to make you feel better.
Mhm.
I feel very responsible for that feeling, maybe because now it's inside of me. So then I get triggered and then I start to feel guilty. That's why it stays. It's not just you, it's now I'm in my shadow.
It's a whole
now I'm in my shadow
loop.
Now Annie's triggered and I'm seeing all these possibilities.
Okay, very cool. I always dig a little bit deeper with FE because it's pretty foreign to me. Let's move on to TI and TE and how that works out for you. You guys talked a little bit about it, but a little more in depth, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
You want to start?
You can start.
I don't know what. I don't have TI.
Yeah, but you have TE.
Well, what good is that in this situation?
Sweet.
TI trickster is just and this is kind of like what I said earlier about like a utilitarian choice. It's more of just, but even better than that, I have realized in my life, I do not speak, as you probably realized by now, I do not speak prescriptively. I'm not direct. I don't tell you what I mean. I speak descriptively. I kind of talk about things or describe things or banter around things, hoping you can read between the lines.
Mhm.
And if you can't, well, I can't help you. That's what she can help you, but I can help you.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what there is a point, which is what she does for me, because you are there to give me more TE ammunition with your TI.
Yeah, I kind of just pull out the best parts to maybe what you're thinking and then kind of throw it through like some analysis and then go, how about that?
Yes, exactly what I was saying.
Yeah. What were you going to say though? Did you have a point?
I was just gonna say, like, that kind of goes back to Linda Barron's interaction styles, like ENFPs are get things going and INFJs are chart the course. So like one has a hard time finishing and one has a hard time beginning things. So does that kind of work out? I know.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my train of thought here a bit, but I know like TI users will kind of take forever to make a decision. A lot of things they have to like get a lot of the information and really soak it in. And TI is like, I have enough information, time for decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's I've always analyzed things a lot in my life. That's one of the reasons why I got into coding. That's why I love people. I mean, that's just a typical INFJ story though, isn't it? I wasn't understood, so I tried to understand everyone else basically. And it started with astrology, whatever I could do to kind of, first of all, like they have an element. And if they're this element, that they're going to act this way. So don't take it personally, just kind of understand the way that they are. There's always been some sort of system for me to kind of help me understand people and maybe help them understand them better, because I love helping people see the good side in them and see what they can do in society and see where they're strong. So yeah, I feel like I'm constantly updating some sort of big world theory in my head. Like I always have some sort of theory I'm going off, right? Like reality surfing.
You're problem solving, or you're always doing some sort of puzzle.
I'm always trying to figure out how to best navigate the reality to get what I want out of it in a way, or how to understand things. But I'm not fixed with that. And I think that's the difference with TE. Sometimes you guys can come to a much more rational decision that makes sense for you a bit longer. But for me, every new person I meet, every new win that I have, every fail that I have just updates my system and updates my framework and the way I go about life. So that's why I feel like I was a late bloomer. It took me till 30 to really I feel like now I really have solid data on who I am and who people are around me and how to relate to them, that I can really start to settle into my purpose now that I'm integrated. Because before that, I couldn't stay too fixed in one framework for long, because I was always feeding in new data to my NI, always.
What do you feel your purpose is?
I think the biggest thing is that I want to inspire people. I really want to inspire people to live the life that they want to live and understand that they can get there. Depending on their type, though, this is where it gets hard. I can't just give a one size fits all answer. I used to be very, it's this, just do this. But as I've updated, I've become aware of the different types. I really want to help people see what they can do with their life and know that if they just fix a few emotional patterns, like a lot of people have limiting beliefs getting in the way of what they want to do or why they're not achieving what they want to achieve. You know, certain hang-ups from childhood, parents that told them they wouldn't be good enough, teachers that told them they wouldn't be good enough for whatever kind of reason that is. And I really would like to show people through living a life that's inspirational that they can have what I have. I think that's,
yeah, very, very cool. I think like an INFJ, a therapist is a very natural role that they play, and they do pursue becoming therapists a lot. So yeah, it just makes sense.
Yeah, and I started out with psychology, but I got too drained from that because I was too young, you know, I could not extrovert. And then I went into Chinese medicine and I was really good at helping people holistically, but then I kept getting sick. I would come home with what they had. So if they were depressed, I would be depressed. If they had a cold, I would have a cold, but not an actual cold, just the symptoms. And yeah, so then I canned that. But I think now that I'm really integrated, I'm ready to go after what I want, which is to be a fantasy author. And then I would hope to have an audience that I can open up to about how they can, like you said, work for themselves or live a life that they want to live, not be stuck in society's matrix and system. Yeah.
Very, very cool. I want to get through the functions real quick, then we can definitely talk about your writing. All right, SC and SI and sorry.
Nothing. I was just checking with him. I was just checking.
Yeah, doing that one of those like, are you okay?
I was doing an FE check.
All right, I was just going to say SE and SI inferior. How has it helped and hurt your relationship, and how have you developed it?
Well, I think you are the only person who has ever made me feel comfortable. I can say that confidently.
It's really sad.
Because now I know what being comfortable actually is. So that alone opens up so many opportunities for an ENFP, because now you're not, when SI inferior is conquered, I'm not held back anymore. I'm not chained up. I can be any barrage of information. I can be TE, learning all sorts of things. I can have the FI to keep it all together, and I can integrate that SI the way I really want to, which is to become someone who sort of conquered my own flesh in a way that I can stand on the earth and just say, I belong here, because for a long time I didn't think I did, and without someone who is as conscientious and as compassionate and as aware and almost hyper fixated on, like you saw what she just did. She just turned to me in the middle of everything.
Well, you were yawning, so I was like,
"Are you tired? Are you tired?"
He's had a big day.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I worked today, and it's 10 o'clock. I don't mean to like reveal your recording schedule, but it's 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, I'm kind of tired, but you know, it's also just without that, I would almost think it was me, but it's not necessarily. I'm not at fault for that, and with her conscientiousness, I can see that it's not. I'm not at fault for that. What does a sign inferior do for you?
Well, that's another thing too. We have a bit of an age gap, as I said, and I feel like I could be the best INFJ for him now, because if we go back to what ENFPs were getting from me when I was like 20, they would want a lot of SC, but it would drain me. And I didn't use it very well then. So I would get very zapped. And then I would just kind of, just like, I don't know, withdraw for like a week. But now I can give him a really good experience all the time. I'm very good at like, making sure his SI is comfortable, checking on things that are going to make his experience better. But yeah, SE inferior is slowly weaning away over the years. It was pretty bad when we got together. Constant loyalty checks.
All the time.
I don't know what it's like for you. I'd be interested to hear if you want to share anything. But just constantly checking, like, do you love me? Constantly like feeling like tomorrow he could not love me anymore and I would be abandoned. So then I would get angry in my head about a scenario that didn't even happen. And then I would feel angry the next day, but I would know it was me because I have typology and awareness now. So we could talk about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's really aspirational with his SI. Like, it's insane. Like, I've never seen an ENFP that pushes it as hard as he does.
Like I said, I work in a construction trade, and I kind of, like, just today I was told by my coworker while I was crawling around just in one of these kind of positions on some ductwork, Ben, how are you not uncomfortable right now? And I said, well, I am, but it's okay because I'm SI aspirational. It does not bother me anymore because I know I have the full context of understanding that was given to me by SE inferior. I have the full context of understanding of that cycle now, which I think I talked about, like any hero just going over and over and over things. SI is the only thing that any hero cannot do that with from the get-go. For me, I had to learn that. I had to learn that pattern. And SE inferior is the missing link
I think
in that pattern.
I think I have become like almost a completely different person since living with him just in 6 months. Like, I feel like I have come so far. If I can like express to anyone how special it is to meet your golden pair, and you're actually both mature and ready to work on the differences. Like, I'm completely different. Like, I was too afraid to write a novel before. Now I'm on book 2. Just in like 5 months, I finished my first novel. I was able to cut out so many people in my life that weren't supporting me and were just draining me. Because of his SI and his loyalty, I feel finally free to really be me. Like, really, like, my NI is there, but I have also used FE a lot to deal with other people's problems. And now I'm finally pursuing my dream. So his SI really helps me. He's really loyal. He's always there for me. He's really consistent, even for an ENFP. And that has made me a very stable person, I think. And him too.
Yeah, like my family doesn't even recognize me anymore because I'm a completely different person than I was than when we met. And a lot of that is, and again, good, bad, or indifferent. A lot of that is because of those loyalty checks. And a lot of that is because of TI Child telling me the truth. Because I like to tailor the truth a little bit. I like to tailor my presentation. But TI Child won't let me do that. And that's a good thing, because I shouldn't be allowed to do that, because that's Pandora's box.
I like Pandora's box. That's why I keep asking.
Well,
yeah.
Keep asking.
And Francesca, you were asking me something about me loyalty checking people, or I mean loyalty checked?
Well, I wanted to know with you because, like I said, I think I'm good friends with a few INTJs, and we did tend to relate to SE inferior with any nemesis when those flare up, what that can kind of mean for your relationships. So I wanted to kind of hear from your point of view, just to gather more data and see how it is for different INTJs.
Well, for me, I had a very rough upbringing, and I never really had a good relationship. So I never really had anybody be loyal to me per se, but yeah, I would check, like, I guess, play my own games to see if they're going to stick with me or be loyal to me. But I don't really know. I don't really agree so much with CS Joseph when he says like SE and SI are like the loyalty thing, and like the sex is really good and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know if you want to go there or not, but
that's probably not.
The two major romantic relationships I had were SE DOMs had an ESTP wife and a ESFP girlfriend who's the mother of my
Right.
son, and
Uh-huh.
it's just not good relationships. I do have a podcast coming up. Hopefully everything goes through. It's supposed to be an INTJ female and an ESFP male. And they say they have a good relationship, so I definitely want to hear their story.
Yeah, I want to hear that too. I could not stand ESTPs younger. Like, it was always a huge trigger, but now that I'm older, I find them really fun and interesting. And so I think, it takes maybe integrating that last function, because to not get too zapped by your dual type. But also, like, I know another INTJ male who also is kind of loyalty checking in their own kind of ways, not just the CS Joseph kind of thing, just, I guess if you look at it as the fear lies there, right, in your last function, because you're not so good at it, then I guess you never in a sense feel that you're going to be giving a good enough experience. And why do they like me? It's not so much loyalty checking for everyone, I guess, but it's that lack of belief. And I find it really interesting. All INTJs I know, I would like to know if you can confirm, have had a really rough upbringing with bad relationships. So that kind of is interesting to me, because then it's like, is it really type, or is it some sort of trauma?
Is that what makes INTJs?
No.
It's just terrible.
But it's the same with everyone, right? Have we gone through certain experiences that have just given us a certain trauma that we feel like, maybe I feel I have to be empathic to everyone because I was never good enough because my dad left my mom. So I'm going around being an INFJ to kind of get that approval. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty common, I think, with INFJs as well. I think it's just being so rare and misunderstood and not really having anybody to have a solid backboard off, because it's not like you can find another INFJ or an INTJ to get advice from, It's not like, and if you do, you're probably not going to talk to each other anyways, because INFJs aren't as introverted, but INTJs can be pretty introverted. And I think for an INTJ specifically, we don't have the people-oriented functions of FE and SI.
Exactly.
So we're just kind of like, these stone cold robots. And
that's fine.
You have FI, child. We know.
We can see
we
it.
know.
Okay, well, we're getting an hour in. I want to get to the shadow functions. How about any NI, opposing personality, nemesis, whatever you want to call it?
Well, I guess we touched on that a little bit.
It's just it's kind of the stop button. I
learned that I had to use any through other people. Well, it's the only thing I really could use with the first function to have it functioning. I guess other people would have preferred if I used maybe some SI and SE, but I was always just doing exactly what I wanted without thinking of anything else, especially when I skipped over FE. Got me into a lot of interesting situations, but at the end of the day, that's exactly where my NI wanted me to be, because it's made me who I am today. So I learned through many ENFPs and people around me that maybe I should consider other options and learn to branch out. And when that started working for me, I integrated it pretty well. But like I said, if I can't see good options, I get paralyzed. Really.
And Ben, I know you said once you start looking at only one option, that's bad for you. Could you elaborate more on that and have you integrated that at all?
Well, since being with NI Hero, I think I'm a little bit more detached than I already was, and I think I was, at least by ENFP standards, if there is such a thing, pretty detached. But now I'm just, everything's all right, because even when I do stop and I do go to that moment, no, that's definitely gonna turn out this way. It has to turn out this way. It's a certainty it'll turn out this way. I just, okay, it'll turn out that way,
You're much more positive now.
I'm more positive with that I don't like restriction. I don't like, at least if it's restricting, it has to be consistently restricting. It can't be sometimes the rules apply, sometimes they don't. I don't like that. I like complete chaos or complete order. I'm not a middleman. So I prefer chaos, but if I have to have complete order and something happened the way it's going to happen, which is what NI is, then I need it to be. I need I get there and then what? And it's not going to be forever, because then the wheel of fortune is going to start spinning again, and all the options are going to come back, and then all these visualizations and all these ideas are going to come back.
You're just positive now.
And then
'cause-
I'm just happy. You know what it is?
Mhm.
I'm happy.
You're positive about your future, because every time we got a setback, I was like, that's going to work out. I tell you, like,
And then it
it's
did.
going to work out.
You see, that's another thing I had to kind of. Any can't get that pattern on its own. Maybe it has to learn that through experience. At least I did,
Mm-hmm.
because I kind of had to have someone tell me, no, that's okay, and then it's okay, and then that happens a few times, and then I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, you always learn from anything bad that happens.
Does that
Anytime,
make sense?
makes
Okay.
sense. I mean, it made sense to me. So
Does that make sense to you?
Learning from your mistakes and negative.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think failure is the key to success, you know?
exactly.
It's-
So anytime you
could
get a
not have said it
setback,
better
you're
myself.
just gonna win eventually from that if you stand up again. So it's good. I've always spun any kind of bad thing that happened to me to a positive light.
Yeah, she's the best at that.
Yeah. I think it's just a way. I mean, just fail. If you fail, I mean, you beat yourself up and like you get a F at school, you know, but I think they're teaching it the wrong way. Like if you
Yeah.
50% in anything in real life, that's pretty close to success, because you got to fail dozens of times before you can succeed in most cases.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone fails.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And like
everyone.
you just beat yourself up when you fail, and I think that's just a wrong message to give the kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
All right, what about FEFI cynics, critic, as CSJ calls it, BB called it
Oh.
cynics?
Yeah.
I like every critic. Okay, when I was younger, I was very good at telling people how awful and terrible everyone thought they were,
Mm-hmm.
because TD Child would just tell everyone, like, what's an example without doxing anybody? Okay, maybe not. Maybe I won't give an example, but I was very, very harsh in delivering
Criticism.
that criticism, but not only that, of just telling, yes, and that criticism is valid because everyone here thinks that. You know, I was one of those kind of people. Like, not only do I not like you, she doesn't like you, he
Yeah.
doesn't like you, you
Yeah.
probably don't like you. I was one of those. But
Yeah,
now
pieces.
yeah.
Yeah.
Where did my FE critic go? Is it more just, am I just more forgiving of people now? Or is that integration?
I mean, you still are like, I don't know.
I do complain about people.
I guess because you have me, you're always comparing everyone to me. So you're like,
Yeah, that's a high standard.
so yeah, but no, like it's there. You just try to be
I-
you try to be more nice about it, because I have FE parent.
Yeah, and that's what again, she could tell you more about my feeling functions than I could.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then for me, I just feel guilty all the time.
Yeah.
I just,
Very sad.
yeah, I get guilty at the drop of a hat. And that paralyzes me. Sometimes for days, I can just lie in bed like a zombie because I feel like such a bad person. If I hurt someone's feelings, or if someone took me the wrong way and I didn't account for all the variables, and then I thought I was doing something that they would like, but they didn't. And then I think, is there something wrong with me? I also really, I really do question my own feelings. In the sense that, like, maybe I don't think that I should have them. Maybe that's why I try to neutralize them in everyone else and me. I just, as soon as a feeling comes up, I'm always trying to analyze it and get rid of it, and, you know, not let it be there. You know, if I'm angry at someone, I'll then throw that back on me. Why am I angry at them? Like, they're doing this thing, but now I'm angry at them, so I'm doing the same thing, so I shouldn't be angry. So I'm that kind of person. But now that I'm older, I tend to blow through it quickly. So if I can say anything to young INFJs, it will pass. You'll still feel guilty when you're older, but it'll move quickly. You'll have more awareness that it's not your problem. You just kind of need to let it go.
Detachment.
Yeah.
I mean, not to go in again, but that's sort of true for my FE as well. I just feel more detached from it now of FE critic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very cool. I think it's very good advice because, like I said, I have a hard time conception. Like I can understand FE on paper, but when it comes to, fundamentally for me, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I know we kind of talked a lot about all the functions, but my TE must put everything in order and stack.
My TE trickster can't, so go for it.
Yeah. Speaking of that was the next point. TE trickster, TI trickster.
Cool. I think my TE trickster, honestly, I do think it's more obvious than your TI. I don't know what it is, but I just really do everything my own way. And whenever someone else tries to put their way onto me, it just doesn't work. And now that I know what TE is, it's okay. But, I like it. I appreciate it. But before, when TE users try to TE me, I would feel like they were trying to control me or like put me in this box of the way that things should be done according to them. But I'm like, but I'm doing it my way with my intuition, my thoughts. So why would I do that? That's like swimming upstream for me because I cannot think the way that you think. So I used to be very offended by that. And I think when I was younger, I used to think I was really good with that function. Not that I knew what that function was, but I would argue against like TE Hero and think that I was right, but I was making no sense. I thought I was being really logical, but I wasn't. I was maybe speaking some form of truth that I had figured out for myself, but it isn't coming across to anyone else.
Yeah, kind of like it doesn't occur to you that other people have their own opinions.
Yeah, it never did. Yeah.
And what about you, Ben, for TI trickster?
I think TI trickster can be really impressionable when it isn't mature, and you can really fall into either going with what's around you, like popular opinion. You can just completely reinforce that, which in a way is good, but in a lot of, I think, more ways than it's good, it's bad. And you can kind of just get sucked up. Like for me, I know, and I learned this the hard way. I can say that's again, this is another one of those choices I was talking about. I can say something one time, and then that is now how I remember it until the next time someone asks me that, and I make a choice to maybe alter that a little bit. And now it's layers upon layers upon layers built on itself. Kind of like if you started making a building and you just never finished the foundation and you just kept going up and up and up and up and up. And some floors are finished, some of them aren't, but there still is no complete foundation. That's what it's like, because it's cycling and cycling and cycling and cycling. And you've done it several times, but I think a lot it happens very often. Someone asks me something very direct, and I just go, and I don't know what to say, because I don't have anything to pinball machine off of to get back to where I'm going. So I fell into the habit of pinball machining off of myself, and just that's the polite way to put it. At some point, you're just making things up. That's what you're doing, because at some point you are just making things up. And you don't. I didn't know it. I don't know it when that's happening, because
right. I'm so aware when I'm doing that.
She's completely aware.
That's the difference.
But I don't know. And again, we check and balance, because if you would ask me something, and I made something up, she would say, that's not, why'd you say that? You don't think that? That's not true. But if you were to ask her where Spain is, what continent Spain is in, I would have to answer that question.
Yeah, I can really resonate to what you said about like just kind of making stuff up as they go because of my ESFPX. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm questioning, are you sure about that? Is
Yeah.
that real? And
Yeah.
she would have these
I
like
don't know.
bizarre, yeah.
That's a constant thing, especially with any hero, just constant, like he comes up with things that just aren't true. Like, but like, I'm like, is it a joke, babe? Like, you know, he'll send me like a voice message. He'll come home from work and he'll be hit with inspiration. He's like, what if I'm doing this or I'm doing that and I'm not showing my truth to anyone and I'm not like showing my real self because I don't have it. And then I was like, okay, so why do you have it with me then? And then he's like, like he does all these completely random things that I'm like, where is this going? Like, what are you talking about? You know, and like I have to kind of like, sometimes it's just a, you know, like a little comedy bit, that's fine. But then there's a lot of times he's like, and I'm like, mate, you literally just said the opposite thing the other day.
I do come in and present it as a eureka moment when it's completely contradictory to what I was saying a week ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, like there's no foundation. We built this thing in quicksand, so we just got to keep building before the whole thing. Yeah.
Very cool.
That's very polite.
No, I'm glad you have this, like, because with my ESFPX, like we couldn't meet each other's needs in any way. We just drove each other nuts on every aspect that you could possibly drive each other nuts from.
Yeah.
So I would be seeking a lot of things and she would be seeking a lot of things and we just couldn't meet in the middle, and just the relationship made no sense, you know, but it happened for a reason and I got a son out of it. So I wouldn't, you know, change it for any reason, of course.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Respect.
I completely understand that. And I think it was the same for me with ESTPs and ESFPs. Younger, I can kind of deal with ESTPs because at least I have the TI with that SE hero. I don't know, but ESFPs, like they have to be older. But just when you have SE with TI trickster, it's a bit like, what are you saying? And I had one at work that was so forceful on every single fact about everything, even if she didn't know what she was talking about. And I was just like,
it's the worst.
Oh yeah, it's hard.
You can really fall into, I hear imposter syndrome. Part of me think that's just complete bogus because it's sort of like self-awareness of like, you know, maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. I think people take like self-doubt as imposter syndrome, and I don't think that's true. I think self-doubt can be a very healthy thing, but because at the end of the day, sometimes I do have those moments of clarity where I realize, where did that come from? Why did I say that? Did I make that up? Did I not make that up? Is that true? Is that false? Did I hear that somewhere and think it was my idea? I don't know.
Yeah.
Do not ask me for sources.
Can't relate to that at all. But yeah, good job. You got through a relationship with ESFP. I'm proud of you.
Yeah. Not that I have anything against ESFPs personally.
No, ESFPs.
It's just the functions, you know, and it depends on how mature one is, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a big thing. Like, this is an ideal relationship. Like, I just don't understand where people get this from, you know.
Yeah.
From socionics, but
yeah.
All right, last but not least, for sure, SC and SI demon.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all seen SC demon.
Have we seen any
well,
SC demon?
Maybe. Again, I do not know. Is it real or is it I shouldn't say real. It's obviously everything's real. It's not seeing as believing. It's believing is seeing, right? But is it authentic? Maybe not. But
yeah.
But also, it in the same way, it's kind of more authentic than anything else. So
I see his SE demon a lot when he's talking to other people, and I think that's just because I can tell he's not as grounded or as comfortable as he would be with me. And anger, maybe he has a lot of that SE demon.
There's a lot of just outbursts.
A lot of kind of outbursts, but he's aware of them, so it's fine. And I think this is something I want to hear from you because I have talked to other INTJs about it. But I think having SE last in the ego with SI in the 8th slot, yes, first of all, I have all the SI demon tendencies, but like, do you just like randomly hurt yourself and not know about it? Because I've talked to other INTJs and they have.
Yeah, actually, this happened just the other day. I was helping my ESFP X move a bed, and my leg was bleeding. She's like, "What happened?" Like, I have no clue.
No idea. No.
How many times he has to all the time like, babe, you're bleeding.
I can recall at least 4 instances where she has hit her head sitting down on our couch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like we moved this couch and it's in a new spot. No, it's at least 4 times
Yeah.
in 6 months of living together. She has hit her head sitting down.
And I always have random bruises or cuts, and I just don't even remember. I don't even feel it.
That's just it's a side effect.
So there's that. I have really bad spatial awareness in my environment, and then when it comes to my body getting hurt, I obviously don't respect it enough to try any harder because I'm constantly getting beat up over it.
But you're kind of immune in a way.
Yeah, I'm kind of immune.
She's immune.
Well.
She's immune.
But yeah, I had a lot of issues with SI demon personally. I think there was a lot of drug use for me. Just really bad with SI. Yeah, always hurting myself, like muttering myself. I did it to get attention sometimes, you know, like, oh, I've tried so hard for you. And, you know, I had attempts on my life. I went through depression and, you know, I had all of that stuff. And so yeah, it was very difficult. And I think being with an ENFP has helped. So once again, like, this is the checks and balances thing. So when I get guilty with my FI and I want to hurt myself, he's really good with his FI or uses it more naturally than me. So he's going to be like, no, babe, there's no need for you to feel guilty right now. Please don't hurt yourself. Please don't do this tonight. Please don't be upset.
Their expectations were their responsibility, not yours.
So I think it's gotten a lot better for me personally. I don't have such a good memory of the past. I don't know what it's like for you. I don't really like going there. I like to live in the present moment and the future only. And things that I remember of the past are like things that I did wrong, or like think when I hurt people or things that I got guilty about.
All the terrible things.
You know, the things that make me lie asleep awake at night, I'll suddenly remember, remember that like assignment I didn't do when I was in like 9th grade, and I came in and like I told them that like I couldn't do it because I was sick, but I lied. Oh my gosh, I'm a terrible person. Things like that, you know. So
I remember similar things, but I remember just kind of like stunning people with awkwardness. You know what I mean? Like the kind of that thing I said in the 4th grade that everyone went, what?
Oh, me too, though.
Yeah.
Me too. Just yeah. SE inferior.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's just kind of at the time I was like, what's wrong? Because that's SE demon is ever evolving in its self-awareness. Yeah. But looking back on it, I realized that was an SE demon thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of similar experiences with SI demon, but mostly it's like a lot of things I remember, like what other people have done to me and like other like adverse things that happen to me, and I just can't get it out of my head. And that's when I dwell in the past, and that's when depression and stuff kicks in for me, is like when I really like reflect on my past and all the things that happened to me.
Yeah, and I think that just must be the slight difference with the FE there. Because INTJs do have more of self-value, I think, and that's what I need to absorb from him. I really do. I just don't think I have much intrinsic self-value, which is why I was constantly trying to help other people instead of help myself. So it's really interesting. Yeah.
That's actually a question I have for you is like, do you think you have self-value?
Pretty much my family and my upbringing, they destroyed any self-esteem that I have, but I'm gaining it. But I definitely think I have some value. That's kind of like why I do this channel and podcast and all that.
Because I wonder how different is the scale. Like your scale of self-worth is obviously way different from hers, and it's different from mine.
I think FI just gets angrier about things done to it. like having FI in the ego, as opposed to FE is a little bit more concerned with maybe how it's affected other people or what it's done to other people. So then like that's where our SI is kind of like focusing on.
Yeah, but I'll be
maybe,
upset on your behalf.
yeah, you do that for me. Yeah, he gets upset and he gets angry what they've done, and then I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I didn't do anything wrong. Maybe they abused me. So yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely get bitter and resentful for a lot of things that happen, but you know, it's kind of like live and let go, you know.
That's good. Yeah, that's using your SE well.
I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah, because you're, instead of focusing on what happened in the past, you're coming back to the present moment and you're trying to let go of those emotions. And I think it's good because you don't want to let that stuff hinder you, right? Because if you're holding on to resentment for other people, you're only hurting yourself in a way. Where it can be a driving force in some ways for some INTJs, like, fuck you, I'm gonna get this power or do this thing and I'll show you, not saying that that's what you're thinking, but it's a kind of toxic way to go about your own kind of self-actualization. So it's good to kind of use your SE to just take in the present moment as much as possible and let go of the past. But I mean, that's also kind of why I avoid it. I kind of bury it. I tend to process feelings that happen in the moment a lot better than I do when I go back there. It's hard.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, I woke up like really early this morning.
That's fine.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
I totally lost my train of thought there. Maybe it'll come back to me before we wrap up. But the final questions that I have, what advice would you give to another INFP, or INFJ, ENFP couple?
Even if it's completely inconsequential, communicate it. I think that's for any relationship, because if the more you're talking and the more context you have to view the other person, the more you don't have to worry about doubting intentions. You don't have to worry about explaining anything. You don't have to worry about taking something the wrong way, because you already understand why it's happening. Like she'll her random SE outbursts, completely understand it when she just starts singing like this. When I yell at people when I drive, she has context for it. We're all fine, and that snowballs over time. So the more and more you communicate, even tiny little inconsequential things, the better off you are, because you have more to go off of. You have more to understand.
That seems pretty important for any relationship, for probably any types, but it just seems like a lot of people struggle to do that. But maybe you guys are so compatible, it's not as much of a challenge, right?
Yeah.
I've never struggled.
I think especially having like a T, a child, like a thinking child function, or in the third slot, depending on how you look at it. Some give it that child archetype, some give it the selfish kind of archetype. We are always, he's thinking in his way, I'm thinking in my way, and then we have intuition first, so we're pattern analyzing at the same time constantly. So we're constantly coming up with random intuitive ideas or concepts and thoughts about things. So that can easily turn into a snowball of like, is this happening? What if he's doing this? What if she's doing that? So
especially with low sensing functions, and that sort of awareness of like immediate surroundings or internal surroundings or anything like that. And because I think definitely in the past, I was not focusing on the way I reacted to something, and the reaction would just happen before I even recognized that that's going to make me angry. That made me angry. I'm angry right now. I would just lash out because I did not have that even brief moment of introspection to go, all right, I didn't like that. So, but I mean, that's another thing. You got to have that awareness to go, I didn't like that. Let's find out why. And if you can't find out why, you just communicate, hey, I didn't like that. I don't really know why. I'm not mad at you. I've forgiven myself. but you gotta say it, because if you got anyone like her, she'll go, oh my god, really, what happened? Let's figure it out. But
Yeah.
just talk to each other.
Mhm.
It doesn't have it doesn't have to be good conversation.
All right. The final question I have for you guys is there anything you'd change about your relationship?
No.
Not anymore. Now that we're geographically close to each other, like she's right here. No,
Mhm. No.
I don't regret any of it.
Yeah, I can honestly say I'm just so happy. I feel so happy and so lucky. So just being in the typology community, and I did leave it slightly because, you know, as you start to integrate as a person, you should be kind of leaving functions behind. You should be really becoming a whole person. So I didn't like always just the limiting, I can't do this because I'm this type. And I wanted us to move beyond that. But wow, if I could say anything about being with your golden pair, it makes life really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's possible if you're out there across the world, golden pairs, we did it. Or anyone watching this who doesn't think it's possible.
That's very cool. I'm glad you guys found each other. When I hear about people in like long distance relationships, I'm kind of like, that's like teenage stuff, I think. But
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked out for you. You guys, you know, spanned across oceans to get together. I think that's pretty cool, especially with the barriers that COVID is presenting. So congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Everyone told me I was doing the wrong thing, and you know, but my NI knew. I knew.
That's
Yeah,
usually when you're doing the right thing, when other people tell you you're doing the wrong thing.
Yep, always, but it's fine. Like, I'll prove you wrong later.
Yeah.
That's for any NI Dom listening that's young and people are telling you that's not the right thing to do, and your gut's telling you opposite. Just do it and just prove them
Even
wrong.
if you make a mistake, because your NI wants you to make that mistake and it wants you to grow, and then later you'll be able to tell those people, yeah, I made that mistake, but I wouldn't be here now if I hadn't.
That's exactly what I tell people. Like, well, what about when your NI is wrong? It's teaching me a lesson. That's what.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's when you're too hyper focused on something, and then you've got to learn that, you know, you go this way and this happens, and it's good for you because it only updates everything. So yeah.
Right. That's all I have for you guys. I appreciate you guys coming on. Do you have any questions for me? Any last comments or anything? Oh, do you want to talk about your writing a little bit?
Oh, I hope we haven't taken up too much time already.
Oh, you're fine. Is
Yeah,
anyone people can buy it or?
Well, I'm still like perfecting it. Like, at least I'm doing it, but
Yeah.
it's great. I'm trying to, it's not great. It's my first 2 books, but so, you know, I have a long way to go in terms of craft. But I'm finally at that stage where I'm deciding to do it, and I hope that I can help other INFJs one day, because it tends to take until we're 30 to actually go after our creative passions, because we are such perfectionists. So yeah, no, it's been really, really good for me. He supports me all along the way, and I'm currently searching for agents on the first book, and I'm writing the second book at the moment.
Very cool. I think you got a little earlier start than me. I'm 37 and I'm just kind of getting my shit together, so that's good on you.
Yeah,
Never too late.
it's hard to start, isn't it, when you are a perfectionist?
Yeah. Just when you're chart the course finisher type, it's hard to start.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on. If you like this content, please like, share, subscribe. That would help this channel out a lot. You could also add me on social media, INTJ Equation all around, and I have a Discord server, which you can find down below in the description. Thank you for going on the clickbait, and have a great day.
See you later.